Welcome to the debate. I want you to picture a number and I want you to really just sit with it for a second. 0.72. That is the fertility rate of South Korea right now. In Singapore, it's barely hovering above 0.9. And in Japan, they are currently burying roughly 900,000 more people a year than they are welcoming into the world. I mean, if you look at those numbers without blinking, they really look like the end of the developed world. We are shrinking, and we are shrinking fast.
Or, if you blink and look again, you might actually see the greatest opportunity for human flourishing since the steam engine.
And there it is, right there, the fundamental split we're tackling today. Are we watching a catastrophe, or are we watching a correction? Today, we're debating whether this plummeting fertility rate is an existential crisis that's going to bankrupt our pension systems and leave us all alone in the dark, or if it is, as you call it, a great rebalancing.
Exactly.
We're going to look closely at Singapore as the petri dish for this, because if any country can engineer a way out, it's them. But this is really about everyone, from the Rust Belt in Ohio to the aging villages of Italy. I'll be arguing that this transition is inherently dangerous, while you're taking the more optimistic view.
Yeah, I am. Because we're looking at the exact same data points, but I'm seeing a roadmap to a better life, and you're seeing a cliff edge.
I'm seeing a cliff edge because I'm looking at the economics of the actual transition. Sure, a world with 2 billion people might be a Garden of Eden, but getting from 8 billion down to 2 billion, that is not a gentle slide. That is what I call the dangerous middle. It is economically violent. My argument is simple, really. The drop in fertility breaks the civilizational bargain. It threatens the asset-based economy, specifically housing, which is practically the only thing keeping the middle class afloat right now.
Right, and I'm saying that you are viewing the future through a lens that is already completely obsolete. You're worried about who will work in the factories when we have lights-out manufacturing. You're worried about who will care for the elderly when we have AI. My argument is that fewer people means a higher quality of life per person, provided we stop trying to prop up what are essentially Ponzi scheme demographics.
Okay, well, let's dig into this dangerous middle then, because I think you're glossing over how painful this is going to be for everyday people. Think of it this way. Humanity is moving house. We are moving from a large, crumbling, overcrowded mansion, the 20th century, to a modern, efficient, automated smart home. And I agree with you, the destination is better. But right now, we aren't in the new house. We are stuck in the hallway.
The hallway?
The hallway. The movers are charging by the hour. We haven't sold the old house yet, so we're paying 2 mortgages. The new house isn't wired up. This hallway is where the pain happens. Modern economies, especially Singapore's, are built on one massive assumption, that tomorrow will be bigger than today. More people, more buyers, more growth.
And that assumption is precisely what's killing us. That's the cancer, not the cure.
The cancer that our retirement funds are invested in. Look at the asset-rich cash-poor paradox. In Singapore, you have people who have spent their entire lives pouring money into their Central Provident Fund, or CPF. But where does that money actually go? Huge chunks of it are locked into their HDB flats. They are banking on that flat being their nest egg. But the value of a home ultimately depends on there being a next generation to buy it. If the population shrinks, who buys the flat?
The market adjusts.
The market adjusts is a really nice way of saying grandma loses her life savings. If demand drops, prices drop. We are threatening a total collapse in asset value for retirees who have done everything right. They played by the rules, they bought the flat, and now we're telling them, sorry, we ran out of buyers?
No, I think you're trapped in a very specific view of what an asset even is. You're treating housing like a tech stock that just constantly must go up. I view housing as infrastructure for living. But let's tackle this who buys the flat panic. Because Singapore actually has a solution for this that the rest of the world completely ignores. It's called the lease buyback scheme.
Which is a technical fix. It's not a market solution.
It's a brilliant financial innovation, is what it is. Here's how it works for those who don't know. In Singapore, public housing is sold on a 99-year lease. When you get to age 65, you probably have 60 or 70 years left on that lease. You aren't going to live for 70 more years. So the government allows you to sell the tail end of that lease back to the state. You sell the last 30 or 35 years. You keep the right to live there until you die, but you cash out that equity now.
Right. So it's a reverse mortgage, but with the state.
Basically. But think about what that actually does. It monetizes the asset without needing a buyer. You don't need a young couple to overpay for your flat to fund your retirement. You are unlocking the value you already paid for. This is what I mean by the great rebalancing. We stop relying on the greater fool theory of real estate, where I need a greater fool to pay more than I did, and start using financial engineering to unlock wealth.
It sounds very clean on paper, but psychologically, it's a surrender. People buy homes to leave a legacy for their children. The lease buyback essentially says, consume your house. There's nothing left for the kids.
But the kids don't need the house. In a shrinking population, housing becomes abundant. The inheritance model is part of that old mansion you talked about. In the new smart home, every generation funds itself. And this is where Singapore has a massive advantage over the West.
You mentioned the Ponzi scheme earlier.
I did, yeah.
The U.S. Social Security system, or the state pensions in Europe, those are actual Ponzi schemes. The money I pay in taxes today goes directly to my grandmother's pension check. If I don't have kids, there is literally no one to pay for me. That is a mathematical dead end. Singapore's CPF is entirely different. It's fully funded. The money you put in is your money. It sits in your account.
Sure, it's solvent on paper. Now it's solvent in reality. Because you are saving for yourself, the demographics matter less. If there are fewer babies in 2040, it doesn't empty my CPF account. I paid for my own retirement. This is why I say Singapore is uniquely positioned to survive the crash. They aren't relying on new bodies to pay for old bodies.
Okay, hold on. You're looking at this strictly as an accountant. The account is full, therefore we are safe. But money is just a claim on resources. It's a claim on labor. You can have $1 billion in your CPF, but if there are no nurses, no bus drivers, and no hawkers, because we didn't have any kids, your money is worthless. It's just pixels on a screen.
This is the scarcity mindset again.
It's the reality of affordability angst. We need to talk about Bomo's cost disease.
Here we go.
It's a real thing. Look, over the last 30 years, TVs became cheap. Why? Because we can automate the factory. We can make 1 million TVs with robots. But a string quartet, it takes 4 people the exact same amount of time to play a Mozart quartet today as it did in the 1800s. You cannot automate the labor. The same is true for nursing, for childcare, for cooking a bowl of laksa. These are high-touch, labor-intensive jobs.
And
so, as we get richer and technology advances, these services become excruciatingly expensive relative to goods. If you shrink the labor force, you pour gasoline on that fire. We are seeing it right now. The price of dignity for a local worker, paying them a decent wage under the progressive wage model, means the middle class feels poor. They feel poor because they can't afford the things that actually matter to their quality of life. You can buy a cheap iPhone, but you can't afford a nurse for your dad.
that is a terrifying picture, I admit, but it assumes that the ratio of one nurse to one patient is a law of physics. It isn't. It's a design flaw.
You can't design your way out of needing someone to change a bedpan.
Actually, you can design your way out of the bedpan needing to be changed as often. Let me tell you about Margaret Hayes. She's 89 years old, lives in a nursing home in Cumbria. They installed a system called Nobi. It's a smart lamp. Looks like a regular ceiling light, but it's packed with AI sensors. It monitors her movement. It detects if she sits up in bed erratically. It detects falls.
So it's a security camera.
No, it's a care multiplier. Because of this lamp, the night nurses don't have to do rounds every hour, waking everyone up, checking doors. The lamp tells them who needs help. In that facility, falls drop by 84%. 84%. That means fewer ambulances, fewer surgeries, fewer months in rehab. You are reducing the demand for labor.
But you still need the nurse when she falls.
But you need one nurse for 20 patients instead of one for 5. That is the great rebalancing in action. We use technology to decouple care from headcount. We don't need to import 1 million low-wage workers to keep costs down. We need to invest in high-tech systems that allow a smaller workforce to do the job.
That sounds great for the facility owner, but let's go back to the affordability angst. You're describing a premium solution, that Nobi lamp isn't cheap. My fear is that the dangerous middle creates a two-tier society. The wealthy get the smart lamps and the robot butlers. The middle class gets, well, nothing. They get a waiting list.
The middle class is already squeezed.
The current model, relying on cheap imported labor to suppress costs, is exactly what keeps wages low. You mentioned the price of dignity. If we want Singaporeans to earn good wages, we have to accept that services cannot be cheap. We have to stop thinking we have a God-given right to $3 chicken rice if that price depends on poverty wages.
I agree with the morality of that, but the politics of it are explosive. If the cost of living doubles because we stopped importing labor, the government gets voted out. That's the trap.
It's only a trap if we don't innovate. Look at Youngstown, Ohio.
The Rust Belt? That's your example of success?
Hear me out. Youngstown lost 60% of its population. For decades, they tried to fight it. They built industrial parks that stayed completely empty. They tried to bribe people to move there. It failed. Then they pivoted. They accepted the shrinkage. They started right-sizing. They tore down abandoned blocks and turned them into parks. They consolidated services. They stopped trying to run a city built for 150,000 people with only 60,000 residents.
And?
And the quality of life for the remaining 60,000 went up. They had more green space, less traffic, cheaper housing. They stopped playing the growth game and started playing the optimization game. Singapore is dense. We complain about overcrowding constantly. Imagine a Singapore with 4 million people instead of 6 million. Less stress on the trains, more space in the parks.
A quiet Singapore. A spacious Singapore. It sounds lovely. It really does. But who is paying the taxes to maintain that infrastructure? Who is serving the coffee? You're asking for a boutique country, but boutique countries don't survive in a world of giants.
Geopolitics is shifting too. Power isn't just headcount anymore. If it were, Indonesia would be a superpower and Singapore would be irrelevant. Power is density of talent and capital.
But talent is exactly what we're losing. And this brings me to the deepest cut of all in this debate, the psychology of this. I call it the civilizational bargain.
Which is what exactly?
The unspoken deal between the citizen and the state. In Singapore and in East Asia generally, the deal was you study hard, you take the tests, you compete in the PSLE, you work long hours, and in exchange, you get the 5 Cs: car, condo, club, credit card, cash. You get the good life. But the cost of that ticket has become way too high.
The cost is high because the competition is artificial.
It's high because we designed a sorting machine. We sort kids at 12 years old. The stress of maintaining elite status in a resource-poor country makes having children a competitive disadvantage. If I have 3 kids, I can't afford the tuition to ensure they win the game. So I have 1 or none.
Yeah, that's true. The anxiety is very real.
But it gets worse. I look at the younger generation and I see them looking at this game design, the grinding levels, the expensive gear, and they are deciding not to play. They are logging off, lying flat. Why grind for 60 hours a week if the starter quests, the entry-level jobs, are being deleted by AI? If the first rung of the ladder is gone, you don't climb, you sit down.
I think you've hit on something profound there with the game design analogy. If the starter quests are gone, the game is broken. But my response isn't to force them to play the old game, it's to change the game entirely.
How?
We move from population maximization to population optimization. You're right, AI is taking the entry-level grunt work. That's actually a good thing for a shrinking population. If we had a booming youth population right now, we'd have mass unemployment because AI would be taking their jobs. Since we have a shrinking youth population, the AI arrives just in time to do the work the missing kids would have done.
That's a very convenient timeline.
It's a necessary one, but we have to fix the logging off issue. We do that by redefining success. The civilizational bargain can't be about survival anymore. Singapore has survived. We made it. We are rich. The new bargain has to be about meaning. It has to be about post-scarcity living.
Meaning doesn't pay for the HDB lease, though. And this is where the global talent portfolio comes in, doesn't it? If the locals log off, you just import players who are willing to grind.
We have to be realistic. We need a flow of talent.
But that breaks the social contract. If the government says, okay, our local kids are too stressed or too few, so let's just bring in digital nomads and global talent to keep the GDP line going up, the local citizen looks around and asks, who is this country for? Is it a home or is it a hotel?
It can be a hub. Look, the nationalist trap is thinking that every single person in the economy must be born here.
we can use a portfolio approach. We have the Singaporean core, and we supplement with transient talent, digital nomads, specialized experts who circulate in and out. They contribute to the economy, they pay taxes, but they don't necessarily crowd the permanent infrastructure in the long run.
A hotel. You're describing a very efficient, high-end hotel.
I'm describing a global node. And frankly, the alternative is the Red Queen's race.
Running faster to stay in place.
Exactly. If we try to reverse the fertility trend, if we try to bribe people to have kids with baby bonuses, we will fail. South Korea spent $200 billion trying to fix this. Their fertility rate went down. The only winning move is to accept the new reality and design for it. Design for the decline.
Design for the decline. It sounds so rational when you say it like that. But I want to go back to the dangerous middle one last time, because design takes time, and we don't have time.
We have some time.
Do we? The sandwich generation is breaking right now. They are caring for aging parents who are living longer than ever, and they are raising kids in the most expensive city in the world. They are the ones stuck in the hallway. They're the ones paying the double mortgage. If we tell them, don't worry, in 20 years, the AI will be great and the housing market will stabilize, they will burn the house down before we get there.
So what is your alternative? Force birth? Ban contraceptives?
No, but we need to acknowledge that the transition requires massive cushioning. We can't just let the market right-size housing, because that destroys the middle class. We might need radical wealth transfers. We might need to decouple dignity from labor entirely. Universal basic income, perhaps. Because if we stick to the current work hard, get rich script while the demographics collapse, the math stops working.
I actually agree with you on the cushioning. We need to unlock that liquidity in the HDB flats faster. We need to subsidize the Nobi lamps for everyone, not just the rich. But I refuse to be pessimistic about the destination. A world where we aren't frantically consuming resources to feed an exponential population growth. That's a world I want to live in.
It's a beautiful destination. I just don't know if we survive the journey.
We survive it if we stop fighting it.
Let's wrap this up, because we've covered a huge amount of ground today. To summarize my concern, you see a great rebalancing, but I see a dangerous middle. The transition to this smaller world threatens to wipe out the primary savings vehicle of the middle class, which is their homes. It creates an affordability angst where the cost of being human, being cared for, being fed becomes a luxury good. And I fear that by turning to mass immigration to patch the numbers, we break the civilizational bargain that holds a society together. The risk isn't that the future's bad, it's that the transition destroys the social fabric before we get there.
And to summarize my view, we are confusing a crash with a correction. We are trying to run a 1970s survival economy in a 2020s post-scarcity world. The Ponzi scheme of relying on new babies to pay for old retirees is over. We have the tools, fully funded CPF, the lease buyback scheme, and incredible AI like the Nobi lamp to decouple our quality of life from our headcount. We can have a smaller, richer, greener, and more attentive society, but only if we stop running the Red Queen's race and start designing for optimization rather than maximization.
The question for you listening is this. Are you ready for the house move? Are you ready to see the value of your assets stagnate and the cost of your services rise as the price of admission to this better world?
And are we brave enough to reinvent what it means to be a successful society when growth is no longer the metric?
That is the debate. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.